Hello, everyone. I'm Felicia Rondo, and that's Cluster over there.
Hey y'all.
And this is Bitsily Book Club, where we take a look at what's latest or the not latest in comic books. And today, we're looking at the latest Sonic comic that's been published so far this month. Um, Sonic the Hedgehog Scrapnik Island, issue 1.
Mm-hmm. Brand new miniseries.
Yeah, and
Bit of an interesting one in terms of its credits.
yeah, because this marks the first full issue written by Daniel Barnes, who many were introduced to in the latest annual of the Sonic comic series.
Yeah,
He,
and also it is just the first miniseries issue of this comic to not be written by Ian Flynn.
yeah, so definitely treading new ground here. And
Mm-hmm.
I do like it. I do like that we're getting some more people working on mini series here because
Yeah, this is I mean Daniel Barnes marks only the third writer to write outside of like an annual or a special. Um
yeah, because Evan made the jump in issue 33, but for the most part, it's just been those two, except until now.
yeah, Ian Flynn and Evan Stanley, that is.
Yeah, sorry. But yeah, this is and this is okay. Just a quick impression from us to y'all. I think this is an okay comic.
Hmm.
They did an all right job. And but yeah, like without further ado, how about we just take a look at this cover,
Yeah.
which is cover A by Natalie Forgery, who usually is the one doing the retail incentive covers, but
Yeah, on the main series.
on the main series, but and certainly in other miniseries, she hasn't done cover A's before, but like, I mean, here she is,
Hmm.
and she's been very popular. Her covers are generally very well liked, and I mean the Sonic social media team has commissioned her multiple times, I believe, to
Hmm.
do pieces for them, yeah, and their hackery. Um, but yeah, this is the first time she's doing a cover A, and the first time she's doing colors for the interiors also. We'll get
Did
into
you
that as we go.
did you double check on that one?
I actually didn't.
Okay.
But it's definitely the first time I've seen certainly this level of like artistry, like with her particular flavor. If she'd done it before, I think it might have been a while ago before she really like got into like the shading and all that, and the lighting and
Hmm.
all that a lot of fun stuff. It's certainly the first time I can recall seeing her doing the interiors for it to any extent. But
Yeah.
yeah, this cover features a crabby hand, a little claw, with Sonic and Tails being surprised, and it's generally just this very like undead horror vibe as we are in the scary month.
Hmm. Yeah, and there's definitely like an amount of that sort of horror theming. Honestly, to the point where like I'm looking around and it's like, man, it's weird that Evan Stanley is not involved at all.
Because she is way into horror.
That's like her thing. If you know her work outside of this comic.
And you should. It's very good.
Hmm.
But yeah, it's an all right cover. Um, and
It's more meant to like draw in your view than be particularly representative of anything about the comic itself.
yeah,
Just very
um,
general horror visuals.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm. And we have the logo for Scrapnik Island, which is I've seen better. But yeah,
It's like it's like rusty, and the letters are, I guess, made of like circuits.
I guess so.
But it just kind of looks weird when you make like letters out of that.
It's like if you tried spelling out someone's name in like torn wires or whatever. It just doesn't.
Yeah.
I can't picture that. Anyway, when you go in, the cast the credits page is all orange and rusty.
I assume going for rust and not pumpkins. But my first thought was pumpkins because it's October.
Scary month.
But yeah, story by Daniel Barnes. Interior art is by Zach Lawrence. Colors by Natalie Fordrain. Letters, as always, by Son Lee. And editing is as always, also by Riley Farmer and David Marriott.
Jack Lawrence, who we haven't mentioned so far, he did the art for the Bad Guys miniseries.
Yeah.
Which definitely was hit or miss, but I'm enjoying his art here well enough.
I find him to be an overall fairly solid artist. It's just that I don't find his illustrations to be terribly appealing some of the time. There's just times when I look at his art and I'm just like, I don't almost like that. Just a personal preference thing.
Yeah, but there's no cast page, thank Christ. And since this is a very self-contained miniseries, there's no story so far, so we just jump right into the action. In one dark and stormy night, far out at sea.
Yeah, because, it is October.
It's scary. Oh. But, we joined Sonic and Tails that were flying in a fucking storm. Which, Sonic remarks is ridiculous. This is ridiculous fucking rain happening. Paraphrasing, but yeah.
Yeah, Tails mentions that he's never seen anything like it. And they have to find somewhere to land soon. As the tornado creaks under the pressure of the storm.
Yeah. And then Sonic spots something and says, "Hey, check it out!" And then there's a full page spread that was fucking microscopic when I was reading from my Kindle reader.
Yeah, I have because I get these comics digitally because it's 2022. So, and the most available place is just Amazon because they have a default monopoly. And wouldn't you know it, their service sucks.
It's absolute
like
dog shit.
It's almost like having no substantial competition doesn't means that they won't really improve much. So,
gee, it's almost like capitalism sucks ass. Anyway,
yeah,
Sonic remarks as we get a massive shot of that does have a deal of gravitas to it, I think. Just Sonic saying, "Is that the Death Egg?"
In big letters.
Big red scary letters, Halloween.
With a gradient.
This is Halloween. Yeah.
Yeah. With Tails noting that it seems to be the remains of the old one, which would be the one from Sonic 3. Because I don't think the Fighters one is canon anymore. If it ever was. That was a weird game.
And Sonic asks, "What's it doing way out here?" And
to which Tails replies that he doesn't know, but if he can land on it, then they can use it to ride out the store.
But then lightning strikes and they come crashing down. Tails remarks that they've lost control and they're going down and tells Sonic to hang on.
Yeah, there's big old 3 panels of just the tornado spinning with one of its wings burning and leaving smoke behind as they spiral closer and closer to the ground, only to abruptly cut to another scene. As in the next page, Sonic awakes, gasping.
From his dream that this all was. Sonic is dead theory.
Yeah, and we see Sonic holding his head and in pain and looking around in confusion as we conspicuously don't see his left foot, which is dangling just off Sot.
Yeah. he calls out to Tails, and he gets on his feet, only to discover his left foot's been like braced or something.
Yeah, so he's got his left foot is braced by a bunch of rusted metal that does not look like it's very comfortable
What
at
is it,
all.
like impounded?
I mean, we figure out what it is.
Yeah,
We are told what it is later, but yeah, it definitely looks very strange to start out with, as it's clearly not like, yeah, it's clearly deliberate.
Um,
And
Sonic finds a
Sonic's foot
gizmo.
is in pain.
But he finds Tails' computer gizmo, the Miles Electric, actually. But
Yeah, I appreciate that Sonic does not remember the name of it
yeah, he just calls it
because
his
that
computer
feels
gizmo.
that feels appropriate for Sonic.
Yeah. But he says he never leaves it around like this. He's always carrying around his fucking iPad all the time.
Yeah. So Sonic leaves the room holding the Miles Electric and starts to look around in this big, strange area, which is very clearly the interior of the Death Egg.
Which is a total dump now, he remarks. And then he
Yeah,
puts together...
you can't believe this used to be Eggman's most powerful weapon.
It's a piece of junk!
Yeah, and we can see just like wires hanging around, and there's just a very dim blue light that comes from the flashlight on the Miles Electric, which is Sonic's only source of light.
It's a real indie horror game here.
But as he passes a fairly inconspicuous segment of the wall, it lights up in red, as it is actually a security camera, and he's being watched by obviously some kind of E100 series robot.
Yeah. As he calls out, "Oh, Mr. Prower!" And I could just imagine Jaleel White saying that.
But even though Tails hates that name, he doesn't respond, so clearly he did not hear it.
Oh man. You
And
find
we get a very interesting scene, which I assume is going to become more relevant as this miniseries progresses.
Yes.
Sonic comes into the one room with any light, as an orange light is peering in through the door as he goes through it.
There's a flower in it.
Yeah, there's just a solitary sunflower on just a little bit of dirt contained within a
capsule.
little like item capsule that you'd normally find like a sealed or a one-up in a Sonic game.
Once he pops this capsule, he becomes a sunflower boy.
I mean, he starts to reach out to it, though I assume if he had popped it, it would have just killed the flower and knocked it to the ground. So.
That'd be a shame.
But thankfully for the
happen.
flower, yeah. Oh, that'd be terrible if that happened in issue, I don't know, 3? I think 3?
Probably.
I
Anyway.
think 3. But thankfully a Screets
alerts him, and he's like, "Huh? What's that? That you, Tails?"
And he leaves the room, but as he does, an orange glow that is clearly from a robot we will see later on emerges from the darkness. He was being watched.
He would have fucking killed him if he touched that flower. Oh man.
Probably.
Just annihilate. You got lucky, Sonic. But Sonic goes to the next room and finds the egg carrier.
I don't know why.
We're hearing the old Death Egg.
Like, I don't know if this is going to be addressed or if this is just like a piece of fan service that kind of stands out as being weird, but for some reason the egg carrier is here, even though, like, I don't know why it would be in the Death Egg when the Death Egg was wrecked, like, way before the egg carrier was ever constructed.
They went out of their way to say it was the older one, and how would they even get the old egg carrier into was it a prototype of an egg carrier, or like... How? But because if it was the one we know, then how would they get it all the way into this stranded island? Anyway,
Sonic remarks, "Wow, this whole place is like a museum to Egghead's past butt kickings," which might be just the only explanation we're getting. But
Maybe.
it raises a lot of questions as to how it got here. Because
Then,
all the smaller robots you can imagine, like, I assume the reason why there's a bunch of trash robots here is that this is just an island Eggman's been dumping his old broken stuff on.
oh
Because
man,
he doesn't care about the environment.
fuck it. But and Sonic hears a screech, and in a very cute panel, he's like, "Who's there?"
Only to see, oh, it's just a coconut with an eye missing.
Hey there, little guy, Sonic says, only to discover that Sid has been here.
Oh, the coconut bot crawls out, and he's got a caterpillar body under his monkey torso.
And Sonic's like, oh! And then he looks around at the surrounding other amalgamated bad dicks and goes, oh.
Yeah. Um, it's it's interesting because like they're all just like like a motobug on a spidery body, and like that one grasshopper that I never remembered the name of from CD
Mm-hmm.
on like a buzz bomber body and various things like that.
Yeah, but
Yeah.
Sonic remark.
Um, it. But the thing is, I know that it's meant to be like, oh, it's so horror and stuff, but didn't we do this?
Can you refresh my memory real quick?
In Test Run.
Hey, yeah.
Like, Test Runs just had amalgamations of robots, but they weren't all rusty. And so, like, because Test Run was not that long ago, I just look at this and I'm like, I mean, kind of seen this before. Like, sir, these ones are missing an eye or whatever. And, like, they're clearly just having been, like, cobbled together from spare parts rather than deliberately cobbling things together from new parts. But, like, I
Yeah.
don't know, it kind of dampens the horror aspect a bit for me when we have done this very recently in this
Yes.
comic.
Yes. But
Um,
Sonic remarks that maybe he didn't wake up from that crash. Maybe this is all just some crazy nightmare, only to feel the scary old ratty robe of or poncho or whatever of
oh,
Mecha Sonic. Mecha Sonic.
yeah, we get a big full page spread of Sonic reacting to Mecha Sonic behind him, who's all dinged up, has a big like crack in his hedgehoggy visor above his eye
Yeah,
thing.
it's like a scar on his eye a bit.
Yeah, this is of course where the orange glow came from before.
Yeah.
Um,
And
we get a flashback behind Sonic in the next panel, showing Mecha Sonic when he was all new
I gotta say,
from Sonic 3 and Knuckles that time.
this flashback, it just kind of looks a bit like oh, it's like back in Archie Sonic.
Oh, yeah.
Like if they made like a throwback Sonic 3 issue, like in like issue 290 billion.
Mm-hmm.
We're gonna do all the fucking games. Anyway, yeah, so Sonic is officially over it and tries to leave only to
He starts to charge up his figure eight spin move,
mm-hmm,
but finds that his ankle is
fucking
uh
hurts.
yeah. He says, "I must have busted my ankle in the plane crash."
And his leg and foot just keeps getting fucked up.
Yeah, it's his left. It was his left foot, left leg last time, right? That got
Might
vaguely wounded.
have been his right. I forget.
I thought it was his left anyway, but his left is hurt here.
Mm-hmm.
His left ankle's all busted up, and he's got this scrap metal brace on it.
But yeah, he frantically tries to escape, running and saying "ow, ow, 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 ow."
He does a little jump to get past Mechasonic, after which it is revealed that Mechasonic's right arm under the poncho is actually a crab meat claw.
Yeah.
because he has also been because most of his body is still intact, but
Mhm.
like I think he has a replaced leg.
Yeah, but yeah,
Yeah,
Sonic remarks
Sonic.
that he's just gotta find Tails and get the heck out of there.
Well, as he's running, he goes only to find that he is not running very quickly,
Hmm. Yeah,
as
because of the ankle
all of the
brace.
robots have easily caught up to him immediately,
Hmm.
which is gotta suck for Sonic.
Oh yeah.
Normally, he'd just be able to get away if he needed to.
Hmm.
But the reason he needs to get away is also why he can't get away.
Yeah. So he makes it to I think where the egg carrier was again,
Um,
or some other
no, no,
sort of
no.
area.
That's where he just left.
Okay, but
Um, yeah, we see Mechasonic enter an area and go searching about with its orange visor glowing.
mhm.
We see that Sonic has sequestered himself inside one of the little capsules that Eggman would steal animals in.
Yeah, and
After Mechasonic passes him, he peeks out and then relaxes.
he's remarking that as he's hiding from robots, he sure is glad that Knuckles isn't here to see this. As he gets all scared because there's Megasonic
Yeah,
right there.
Mechasonic peers in through the little opening. Uh,
You could just imagine the jump scares if this were a horror movie.
yeah, and Mechasonic jumps on top of the capsule, hitting it with his still correct from his original build left arm and opening it up.
Uh huh. And
Uh, but Sonic is clinging to some ratty old piece of garbage,
mm-hmm.
and so he throws it on the ground and starts surfing,
Yeah, and then he's like, "Sayonara, sucker," while doing like a bit of a nose
sticking his
stick.
tongue out,
Yeah,
and he's doing a thing where he has his hand up to his nose and twiddling his fingers.
Oswald the Lucky Rabbit did it a lot.
Yeah, it's like it's a thing where if you saw the panel and you've
Yeah,
seen like any cartoon, you know exactly what he's doing, but I have no real clue how to correctly describe it.
he's a cartoon character. He's doing a cartoon character thing, and next he is pulling his cheeks apart and going blah, 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 blah.
Yeah. Meanwhile, the E100 robot from before is coming around the corner,
Mm-hmm.
and Sonic, I guess maybe because he notices this or something, I'm not sure, ends up falling off of his impromptu surfboard made of garbage.
Yeah, and then looks up at this domineering, scary robot with
Who
a
has like a monocle that he tilts down, and so his one eye is bigger than the other.
mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
I don't really know what good a monocle does to a robot, but
Yeah. And then Tails is there.
just immediately we go to the next panel, and Tails just like, oh, hey Sonic.
And Sonic's like, Tails? And Sonic warns his little brother, saying, "Watch out, bud! We're surrounded!"
Oh, but Tails corrects him, saying, no, wait, they're friendly.
And Sonic's like, excuse me?
And Tails explains that the Scrapniks helped Tails drag Sonic inside after they crashed. And they built that terrible, rusty foot brace made of garbage for Sonic.
Aw, just for him.
Yeah.
Sonic questions the term. Scrapniks?
And Tails clarifies that that is just what they call themselves. And the only one of the Scrapniks to speak so far
Yes.
is the E100 robot, who I think, right, E117 Sigma.
Who introduces himself. Greetings, Sonic the Hedgehog. I am E117 Sigma. You were placed under observation due to the ankle injury you sustained. Having no knowledge of your situation resulted in an elevation of your stress levels, I surmise. Our intentions were not to frighten you. Your forgiveness is requested. And Sonic says, no problem.
Yeah. Sigma, of course, I believe was not a robot that was ever present in any previous thing. I
Yeah.
mean, Sigma might have been one of the ones used in a previous comic
Mm-hmm.
because a lot of Sonic comics, like this, I think is the second E100 series robot made for a comic for this comic. But the artsy series, I remember there were just a ton of E100s that were just made up for it. Since
Mm-hmm.
there's a bunch in between the ones that were in Adventure and
Yeah.
Omega,
Mm-hmm.
bunch of
Yes.
numbers and
Bunch of fucking
letters. That
numbers.
is,
Yeah.
yeah. Uh, and Sigma reiterates the that forgiveness is requested for the plane crash now. Uh,
Yes, because that storm was due to their malfunctioning climate disruptor.
yeah. Apparently, Sigma's have been attempting to repair it, but has been unable to, and also has attempted to permanently decommission it, but has also not been able to do that. So, you know,
Yeah.
it's just been kind of terrible for everyone.
Mm-hmm. Which sucked for them.
But Sigma slowly leads Sonic, Tails, and the very silent Mechasonic out of the base as light starts to stream in, and we move finally from these dark and scary colors to more normal ones.
As Sigma welcomes them to Scrapnik Island, which I mean this panel isn't very much for me.
No, it's just kind of brown.
It's
So,
just kind of
like,
like welcome to Scrapnik Island. It's one thing, and then there's like brown
yeah,
in it.
we can see what seems to be like part of the upper part of the death egg,
Mm-hmm.
which had fallen off because we saw there was like a big chunk missing on the actually impressively noted um, art during the storm. But
Yeah,
it's just kind of covered in brown,
yeah, like dirt or like just junk.
and there's just like a solitary robot. And unfortunately, it just
Off in
doesn't.
distance, off in distance, there's three other robots flying.
Okay, I didn't even see them,
I just did
and
in the app.
yeah, and it doesn't do a good job of selling what occurs over the next few panels, which is Tails excitedly geeking out about allegedly a whole civilization made from recycled machines and spare parts, because we're not seeing that.
We're not seeing a civilization. It's kind of just a dump.
Yeah, like there's no buildings, which
Mm-hmm.
would have helped sell it. There's barely any robots, and again, even if we just seen robots, it would have helped sell it. Like
Mm-hmm.
there's nothing here.
This would be a very barren hub world
I
in like
mean,
a little video game.
because there's nothing.
Yeah,
And it's unfortunate because like clearly this scene has called for more in the art.
it's got special
Um,
lettering and everything, and like Tails geeks out.
yeah, like when Sigma welcomes them to Scrapnik Island, it's the same lettering from the logo,
Mm-hmm.
just in a regular text box instead of
It's a
being
title drop. They can't
yeah.
write Sigma out now. He has the title drop.
Hmm. But yeah, it's just a kind of a disappointing panel in that if I mean, if this is what we're meant to be viewing as a big reveal, it doesn't really deliver, and it's unfortunate because like it was a good lead up, it was a good build up. I like how
Yeah.
I like how the coloring sifts from the very blue toned scary stuff in the interior to the natural tones, and like we
Yeah.
see that Sigma's actually green,
Mm-hmm.
which
Yeah.
is just impossible to tell much of anything from color because it was so dark inside.
Yeah.
He has like this red scarf,
Mm-hmm.
and just in general, like you can much better see the details and see like what parts of each robot are not from their original body now that their colorations are revealed.
Yes.
Like Sigma has like a Mickey Mouse hand on one arm. I'm not sure which robot that's from
Mm-hmm. But it is very cute.
because you got the regular like E100 arm, like what Gamma had. But
Mm-hmm.
yeah, then the Mickey Mouse hand. But there is a very cute moment where we see Tails, um, very excited, covered in sparkles, and Sonic notices this.
And says, Tails geek out in 3, 2, 1.
And then Tails exclaims, "A whole civilization made from recycled materials spare parts again that we don't see." This is incredible, says Tails. We are told it's incredible.
And Sonic says, called it, and then Sigma remarks that his enthusiasm is unexpected. And,
Probably because there's nothing here.
Yeah! And he requests that Tails allow him to show him around.
Yeah. With, I'm enjoying Sigma so far.
Yes.
He has this cute little dialogue quirk where, like, before he was requesting forgiveness, and now he is saying, "I request you allow me to show you around." Like,
yeah.
It's a very neat little, like, robot speech mannerism thing, and I'm a bit of a sucker for that kind of thing personally.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Sonic laughs as he watches Tails just in his happy place, but then he turns to Mecha Sonic and he's like, and he leaves.
Yeah, Mecha Sonic completely unmoving. And we can see better that one of Mecha Sonic's legs is a saw, which is probably hard to walk on. That's unfortunate.
Yeah.
And it's very rusty, so it's probably not very useful as a tool either. And also, as I mentioned, the coloration, we can see a bit of the blue on Mecha Sonic's arm, but he is almost entirely covered in rust.
Yes.
And as Sonic walks off after Sigma and Tails, we see it through Mecha Sonic's eyes, and Mecha Sonic gets all zappy with sparks coming out of his collar, and his eye goes all electrical, and then it turns red.
With the sky behind him darkening as his original programming begins to take hold, but
in the next page, he slaps himself on the head, looks down at his hand as everything's dark, and then clenches
it
his
into
fist.
a fist. Yeah.
And things get a little lighter. But then we see from just like a sort of off, distant perspective behind Mecha Sonic, a foot.
Yes.
And then we see that the foot belongs to
a Mecha Knuckles.
Is this one called Mecha Knuckles?
I can't tell this one apart from Sonic R1 because I know they're very different looking, but the name just doesn't matter to me.
Yeah, I don't remember what this is. A mechanical Knuckles anyway. It's a Knuckles robot. This is, I believe, the one from Sonic Adventure 3, 2.
Yeah.
No, not Adventure.
Sonic
Advance.
Sonic Advance.
Sorry, they both start with Adv.
I think it's Advance 3.
Yeah, where he was just like a gray Knuckles with like yellow arms and stuff. And here he's got the Knuckles hat, the one with the 3 stars on it, and it's all like tattered up.
He took it.
And he's got a wrecking ball arm, and one of his feet has been replaced with a tank tread. I assume probably from a grounder or one of those types of robots. Definitely, if you're someone who like enjoys the enemy designs for Sonic, there's probably going to be a lot of just fun you can have just looking at the designs of these robots and piecing together like, where did this part come from?
Yeah. And that's the ending of the issue.
Yeah, and it says, next time, trapped in enemy territory, which seems rather grim for what's happening.
Yeah, I feel like we're just in this nice dump of an island. People are being cool to us. I don't think it's...
Yeah. I mean, the Mecha Sonic could turn on us at any time and try to kill Sonic, but other than that...
I mean, did Sonic from the beginning of this issue write that next time? Because we learned we're good.
Yeah. Though I will note, the mechanical Knuckles here. Number one, the head is like down over one eye, so I assume that eye is probably busted. But also his eye is glowing red, and glowing red for Mechasonic at least seems to indicate evil. So maybe this mechanical Knuckles is currently evil and will attack.
Okay.
Because I'm assuming from context clues that that's what red eyes means.
That is a fair assumption. I don't think this last page really did it for me. I was doing the panel to panel, and it was just kind of like, okay, there's Mecha, okay, there's feet. I thought that was Mecha's feet at first.
Yeah, so I as well also I thought that was Mecha's feet, and we were looking at another robot in the distance, but the robot in the distance is Mechasonic, and we're looking
Yeah,
at the mechanical Knuckles' feet. They'll probably say this Knuckles' designation in the next issue, so I won't have this confusion.
yeah, but and then just we get a shot of Mecha Knuckles, and
It's a nice, good, full frontal shot showing you all the additions and changes from the default design, so you can make your fan art. But
I'm pretty sure they already posted the reference sheets for all these too, so that's kind of out the window.
not everyone looks at that.
I guess so, yeah. But
Um, I mean, I'm a big fan of like making sure you have these big like shots of a character, especially if they're like a design that haven't been shown before, because like it helps people to like solidify in their mind what the character looks like.
yes,
If we see this one's foot in the future, we'll probably be more accurately be able to determine because we know who has the tank tread foot
yes,
now. Um, but yeah, it doesn't really do a lot for me because I don't. We've seen a lot of junked robots, including a Mechasonic, which is a mechanical Sonic, and this is just a mechanical Knuckles. And
mm-hmm.
the thing is, I don't know anything about this Knuckles robot's like intentions or anything.
Honestly, given that he was a boss in a 2D platformer on the Nintendo Game Boy Advance, there wasn't much going on to begin with. So the
I
one,
well, what I mean is like in this comic,
yeah,
like I can tell from context clues that Mechasonic is struggling against his programming.
yeah,
Mechasonic is clearly the one who has preserved that sunflower from earlier as well, because he was
yes,
watching Sonic almost touch it.
mm-hmm.
Almost certainly, it's going to get wrecked, and there's going to be a whole thing
Mm-hmm.
about it.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and like so, you can clearly see that there is this struggle happening within this run, and it's a totally silent robot, but I feel like it's working, and I think the
Yeah,
art is doing a good enough job
yeah,
of expressing this one.
mm-hmm.
But this is the first time we've seen this Knuckles robot, and so I just don't know what this Knuckles robot is all about. So it doesn't mean anything to me when I see it.
Yeah, I was just saying, like, I don't care about this Mecha Knuckles to begin with, but, like, some people liked a boss battle on the Game Boy Advance, so this is gonna be a big moment for them. Hey Freyo in chat. Thanks for tuning in anyway.
Yeah, we're about to the end of the story, but we still, I think, have a few more things to talk about.
Yeah, next month is the cover.
Um, no, I wasn't done. Is all.
Okay, we'll keep going.
Just the way I'm approaching this whole comic with like I feel like, with the Mechasonic, which I don't care about, and
Mm,
this Knuckles robot, which I don't care about,
mm.
I'm definitely not, I think, the target audience in a lot of ways for this comic, which
Same
I
here.
think
Same
is
here.
directed at people who care about these. Like, Metal Sonic is a character that a lot has been done with, and so I care about Metal
Hmm.
Sonic. Mechasonic appeared in one game, turned gold a bit, and then blew up.
Yeah.
This Knuckles. Ooh.
We would recommend it, Freyo.
Yeah, so I'm here being critical, it seems like, but we did enjoy this comic.
It's all right.
Yeah, but for me, when I'm looking at these characters, I'm treating them as just completely new entities.
All right.
And so it's like I am asking the comic essentially to make me care, make me invested in them, and I'm treating it as a blank slate where I'm not even considering, you know, the like 16 or whatever bit history. of these like voiceless, motivationless bosses from some sprite games.
Gotcha.
And so far, I'm willing to buy into Mechasonic,
Yeah, who we have
but
had the most out of this issue.
yeah, and I'm enjoying Sigma as a
Oh,
character
me
so
too.
far.
Me too.
I think Sigma's been real neat, but
Oh yeah.
when it comes to this Knuckles, I've not been shown anything, and I've not been given anything. So
Mm-hmm.
when the comic is just like, look,
Mm-hmm.
the robot who looks like Knuckles, I'm like, it sure is. That's nice.
Is that Metal Sonic? Could it be?
I mean, if Metal Sonic shows up, then I'll be kind of invested in Metal Sonic because,
Yeah, Metal Sonic's great, but like I was just thinking
yeah,
about one issue where Belle was just like, a Metal Sonic.
right. She was weirdly intense about Metal Sonic existing in that one issue.
They figured out that she hadn't yet met Metal Sonic, and we're like, that's it. We got it.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah.
Yeah. There you go.
This is gonna be wrapping up stuff, I guess. So let's just finish the next up.
Yeah. The next month tease is the Knuckles robot with his hat.
Remember the hat?
I mean, I remembered the hat, and also I've remembered the hat every time they've referenced the hat.
Yeah.
Which has been fairly often.
You know,
I can play as a Knuckles wearing the hat in Sonic Forces Speed Battle, like, right now. I mean, you can't even go download it because you're an event character. You have to wait for the event to come back, but, like...
I gotta wonder how younger fans perceive this hat, because I don't think it's gonna have the same pop as for those fans as it is for people who remembered when it wasn't showing up anymore.
You mean basically the default ever since the hat appeared in an animated special movie?
Yeah.
Because for anyone not aware, of course, this hat was worn by an animated version of Knuckles in the Sonic OVA.
Mm-hmm. The first Sonic movie.
Yeah. And it was just they put a hat on him, basically. The hat was then used in the Archie comic series, in particular in Mobius 25 Years Later, where Knuckles, as an adult, with a wife and kids, well, not a wife, but, a woman and kids, and one kid, anyway. Mm-hmm. Anyway, the point is, he was wearing the hat all the time when he grew up, in that continuity.
Yeah.
And that was basically the primary place anyone saw the hat ever for a while.
And that led
because
to
it was it was the only like version of Knuckles that ever delved into just the hat.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And of course, when that version of Knuckles went away, of course, the hat didn't show up either because it wasn't showing up anywhere other than that.
Yeah.
In the first place. Mm-hmm. And for anyone wondering, it's as simple as that. They already weren't using the hat.
And anything that was using the hat, that's just basically just a holdover from when it was relevant, just like how Mighty and Ray were in the comics because they showed up when they were relevant.
Yeah. I mean, heck, the only reason why, like, Vector, Espio, and Sarmi were in the comic is because they were relevant kind of when Knuckles Chaotix came out. And it was pure happenstance that, Sonic Team decided to keep them relevant by reintroducing them as the Chaotix Detective Agency in Heroes.
Mm-hmm. And don't you worry, they gave their own overthought explanation for why he has a different body type now. Vector didn't need it anyway.
Yeah, but yeah, the people have had a lot of weird conspiracy theories about the hat, but the truth is just that there was never Sega and Sonic Team never used the hat.
Yeah.
So the reason why they haven't been using the hat is because they never used it.
Mm-hmm. And then they used it again in Speed Battle. And I think that was, for me, the big, they're using it again, cool.
Yeah.
Or not using it for the first time, anyway.
Yeah, it was the first time. I mean, because like the hat had been referenced even before that, but it was definitely the highest profile use of Knuckles' like cool cowboy hat for.
Hmm.
I mean, it was the highest profile use since the Archie Comics version last appeared.
Yeah.
Um, and I think it's hopefully done a lot to make people realize that they were wrong when they made up a bunch of conspiracy theories about why they weren't seeing a hat anymore.
Yeah.
Which is a weird sentence, but also Sonic fans.
Yeah, that's just how they are. Um,
Yeah,
and if I could just make a request, please stop bothering Ken Penders about the hat. He doesn't he's not in control of that. He,
it's not. He never stopped anyone from the hat. He never had an ability to. And God, some
anyway,
people just. Yeah, anyway.
yeah. So this comic, Scrapnik Island.
Mm-hmm.
It was only until
Issue
we actually
one.
issue one. It was only when we actually read it that like we actually gained any perspective. Freya writes in chat, the hat, the most important object in the entire history of the Sonic franchise.
You'd think it by how people talked about it, but
But
yeah.
this miniseries, it was only by the time we actually read it that like we actually gained any expectations for it because with the marketing we weren't really given a lot to like be excited
Yeah.
for.
As I mentioned earlier, I'm very much in at least some ways not the target audience for this. While I may be a Sonic fan and like I as I've shown, I've talked about like the various different robot parts that these robots have had, and I've been able to even accurately name at least a few of these badniks.
Yeah.
But like even though I'm into Sonic enough to notice these references, I don't actually care about them other than an eye to like, oh, that's neat.
Yeah.
Um, and to a degree, some of it I find tiring. When
Yeah.
I saw that they were doing an E100 robot, God, it for a minute there really drained my enthusiasm because as I mentioned before, like the Archie comics did a lot of E100 robots. This comic has done a random out of place E100 robot before. Now this one being a junked robot,
Yeah.
in a scrapyard island makes way more sense than the previous one from this comic, where it was just active and in a base for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even remember what number and letter was used for that one. It's just like
Mm-hmm.
Whisper blew it up or something.
Mm. But
But when the comic actually got going and I saw what was being done with the character and it was anything,
yeah.
um, I was more receptive to it. But I'm not really here for the nostalgia bait and
The
the
fan
and the
service.
just the fan service stuff. It's something that I'm into Sonic enough to notice and on some level for some of it appreciate. But the problem with fan service in Sonic is that it is done way too much, especially in the comics.
And the thing is, I think in fandom, people aren't really cognizant of how like egregious it is because like when people hear fan service, I think they think of like pervy stuff. But like,
Yeah,
and people understand when that can get just entirely played out and tasteless and annoying. But the thing is, it doesn't have to be sexual to get that to that extent with fan service. It just when you do
yeah,
too much fan service, it's too much.
yeah.
And
And
yeah, there's been
this,
lots.
I will say, what Daniel Barnes is doing here does feel different from a lot of the overused fan service.
I think so too. Yeah.
Number one, just what he is referencing.
Mm-hmm.
Um, because he is referencing actually a fair chunk of Sonic history.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of the fan service in Sonic only comes down to like the first few games, like Sonic 1 through like 3 and Knuckles is basically what gets referenced a lot for fan service.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but like stuff even through like the advanced games is actually getting some play here with
Don't see every day.
it's yeah. I don't personally care about that one gray Knuckles boss from Advance,
Yeah.
whichever number 3 or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
2 something. But it's still pretty neat to see that it's happening at all.
Like as far as things introduced in the advanced games that don't get much play nowadays, I think the thing I care about most is Vanilla the Rabbit.
Yeah, and I mean, she has gotten a lot in various media, definitely thanks to Sonic X featuring her.
Yeah, but like for games, it's the advanced games, and then Rush, and then
Yeah, I'd love to see Vanilla appear in a game again
that'd
because
be great. That'd be great.
I would just appreciate seeing her.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Get a 3D
Um,
model of her.
yeah, that's never happened
Mm-hmm.
before. I'd love to see that.
Me too. But yeah. Yeah, for me, with the fan service, it did push my ability to let down to like suspend my disbelief. It did push it. I was kind of being taken out of it in some parts of this issue with like there's the egg carrier.
Yeah, I mean, the egg carrier might end up just being like a thing that doesn't work for me because I just, I don't know why it's here. But
I feel like this comic is still doing enough to
I
like
mean,
let
I
me
ex-
yeah.
I expect that next issue, Sigma and Tails will probably have a conversation where Sigma explains like why all of these nostalgic Sonic robots covered in rust
Mm-hmm.
are here on this island, and there will probably be like even more things,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Tails might even point some of them out.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll see how we feel about that if and when it happens.
Yeah, it's doing enough for me right now to where I'm willing to let this comic. I'm hearing it out
Yeah,
with the parts that I'm not so sure on because it's still it's still like grabbing me with the overall like thrust of the plot and like the characters.
the I'm enjoying the tone. Also, I will say,
Yeah.
it when it comes to tone, it can be sometimes a bit hard to articulate, and especially I'm not very good, I think, at articulating it. But the tone of this story and the way that it's being presented here in issue one
Mm-hmm.
makes me feel like I'm going to enjoy how it develops and resolves.
Yeah.
And that's sort of just a sense I've gotten from reading a lot of stories. I've read a lot of comics, I've played a lot of games, I've watched movies and
Mm-hmm.
TV shows, like, and I've analyzed them, and because it's fun for me. I'm autistic, if you
Yes.
couldn't tell.
Mm-hmm.
And so, when I get a story like this that just tonally feels like it will, um,
Mm-hmm.
appeal to me, that makes me much more willing to want to go through with it. Whereas sometimes, like, I'll read the first part of the story and it will feel like it's setting up to be something that will not appeal to me, which
Yeah.
thankfully was not what we got here. And
Yeah.
yeah, I realized that I just kind of rambled for a bit, but to route back to what you were saying before, you know, we were not looking forward to this comic.
We were not.
um, we knew that Daniel Barnes was writing it, but of course we hadn't read anything from him yet.
And
And then came
then
the annual, which had
weapons.
weapons, right?
And
And
you see right there, it just
pro- weapons was not a bad story, but it also, in my opinion, wasn't a good one.
mm-hmm.
It it just kind of happened. It came and went, and it didn't do much for me, or
Yeah.
really anything. So, with only that to go on from Daniel Barnes and writing, and it was also a very robot focused story, we were just kind of left in suspense of, like, I hope it's good. And
Yeah.
thankfully it was.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's why we really didn't have any anticipations, which, that's another thing.
Yeah.
I did not go in necessarily expecting to like this.
Mm-hmm. But we were surprised.
Yeah.
And it's also why
Um,
every time this comic came up during stream, we'd be like, "Yeah, we'll review like the first issue at least."
yeah. We're basically committed to reviewing the main series in full, but like if a miniseries comes up and the first issue doesn't grab us, we might
And
just skip out on the rest.
especially if it's not pertinent to the main story.
Yeah, because that's mostly what we're reviewing. And in this case, it's not pertinent to the main story.
Mm.
It's entirely possible that Scrapnik Island will end up being referenced later, because that's how storytelling works.
Yeah.
In the same way as like, Sonic Frontiers is coming out next month, and it's possible that sometime in the future, in a couple years, the events of that one will get referenced. As of right now, of course, the comics get planned months in advance, and
Yeah.
they have various story arcs in the works. So like,
Hmm.
um, anything like that would be some time off now. But
Yeah.
there's things that could happen in the future.
Hmm. But yeah. This was all right. I've definitely seen some people like really excited about this, and good for them. For me, it was kind of like, okay, this wasn't so bad. Not like
Um,
changing my world, but like,
yeah, I'm pretty positive on this.
hmm,
Um, like it's definitely the kind of story that like if I wasn't deliberately keeping up with the comic, I could see myself falling off of and forgetting to read and just
yeah,
wander away from, because I've had plenty of stories where I've enjoyed them, but I just don't keep up with them. But
yeah,
it's not gripping me to the point where like I will need to be checking it out next month and
mm-hmm.
for the 2 months after. But like
Mm-hmm.
I am keeping up with this comic series, so I will definitely be picking up at the very least the next issue. And unless it catastrophically fails,
Horrible.
I expect us to be picking up and reviewing this whole miniseries.
Yeah, and I definitely want to support another writer having such a prominent
Mm-hmm.
role, because back in the day, y'all, Sonic comics used to have multiple writers instead of just mostly one or two.
Yeah, like back on the Archie series, there were quite a few writers in the beginning, and it eventually ended up solidifying into like two very prominent writers, Ken Penders and Carl Bollers. But
Mm-hmm.
even then, there were still a lot of other writers who came in on certain issues or were
Yeah,
there in the specials,
Romy
the
Chanson
Sonic
would
Super
show up.
specials.
Um,
Yeah, and then eventually Ian Flynn, became the main writer, and in not too much time, he just kind of became the only writer. And for many years in Sonic Comics, it was just one writing voice.
yeah, and if you read most of those, like we did, it can get kind of tiring to read the same voice over and over without much variety. And
Yeah,
eventually, Ian would get to share writing duties with his wife, Alia Baker, and in a couple of the Sonic Universe arcs, there was I think a couple written by Tracy Yardley, and one by Evan Stanley, the Silver Age, which
yeah.
was a very strong showing from Evan that is still very worthy of y'all checking out for the record.
Hmm. However, you can acquire it because it's not being sold anymore.
So we've been talking about Archie Sonic, and I had a little observation I thought of while we were reading this
Yeah,
comic. So this is a very disconnected from the rest of the comic
yeah.
miniseries, but also, in particular, it's disconnected from IDW Sonic.
Yes, this is at the very least for this first issue, it's a very self-contained, away from its main comic miniseries. Like if all you have is Sonic knowledge, like it's a Sonic and Tails going to an island filled with robots from Sonic games.
And I'm just gonna say, like, if you were really into the old comics and can't really get into the new ones, I mean, you can just kind of add this to your reading order in Archie Sonic if you want. Honestly, like, there's a part I think in like the '60s of the Archie Sonic series where Sonic and Tails are just going around, flying around the tornado,
Yeah,
and
we're searching for Naugus.
you could just slot this in right here.
At least so far.
Yeah, so it's just a thought I had. Just like,
Hmm.
you could just read this along with Archie Sonic, which is something we haven't really been able to say. Um,
Yeah, I mean, the main series has, of course, always been very connected to. There have been ongoing plots all the time, and until now, every single miniseries of this comic focused on original comic characters.
and I gotta say, y'all, on another level with the miniseries we've been having. I think this is the first time since Tangle and Whisper where we've had a self-contained to this extent. It's
Yeah,
not just
because
it's not just overflow spilling out from the main series.
Tangle and Whisper definitely like expected you to have some amount of knowledge of who the characters were, which there's a reason why the collected version was packaged in with the annual, which introduced Jewel.
Yes.
Um, but it was overall a fairly self-contained story. Later stories picked up on where it left off, but it didn't lead into anything, and it didn't lead out of anything.
Yeah.
And here we are with this story, which is not leading out of not. It's not nothing's leading into this. It's just a story that's starting, and
Yeah.
it's very much certainly won't be leading into anything because where the current main series is far and away from this. It
Yeah.
feels like this is gonna just be sort of placed somewhere, probably even before the current events, because there've been a couple time skips, and you
Yeah.
could just easily say, "Oh, Sonic and Tails had an adventure there."
When they were playing video games, they were like, "Let's go out to the storm."
I was just thinking like post. I'm assuming this is going to be like post Metal Virus, pre. Uh, I don't know.
Pre-imposter syndrome.
Yeah,
Let's
just
call it
somewhere in that vein where there was a lot of vague time happening, including a half year in there somewhere.
because there hasn't been much breathing room since Surge and Kit. I think
Yeah,
it's
and
kind of all been happening very rapidly.
and as we said, Tangle and Whisper was fairly self-contained, but then Bad Guys directly played into the story that was running at the same time as it, Towers and Batting Bases.
Yeah.
And then Imposter Syndrome was actually alternating with the main series, and you were expected to read each issue, even though they didn't necessarily advertise them within the comics that well, because they were saying that next month was something that was going to happen 2 months from then. But, we talked about our difficulties the whole time we were reviewing that.
Yeah.
But even more so than Bad Guys, Imposter Syndrome was required reading
Yes.
for the current story arc.
And we prefer this.
Yeah,
'Cause-
I mean, a great thing about a limited series, which is what a miniseries is why I often go for a limited series in a comics is that usually they are self-contained.
Mm-hmm.
So even if I don't really know what's going on in Batman right now, if there's a limited run where Batman is, I don't know, fighting the Joker who's teamed up with the Riddler and they're gonna poison Gotham's water supply, I don't need to know what's going on in Batman comics. I don't know, Ra's al Ghul's probably a ghost now, I assume. Alfred
that.
is both dead and alive at the same time.
There's
I don't
that
know.
limited series where Batman Joker team up, actually. So, and
Yeah.
it seems very
Which we-
disconnected from things right now. So,
Yeah, we just learned about that, and that might be interesting, but,
be looking at that. I mean, I
Maybe
don't
no
want to
one
make a
is
promise
so.
about book club.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, just us ourselves.
Not saying we're going to book club it, which we might not. We might, but,
No promises, y'all. Anyway,
The point is, this feels like what I generally want from a limited series.
Yes.
Which is a self-contained, off to its own side, you don't need to know what's going on in the main series thing. And I think it's just better, because it's so much... If this just continues to be a good comic, I can just recommend this to anyone who likes Sonic.
just like with Chow Races and Batnik Bases, before it. This
Yeah.
is just a nice, hey, if you're not too caught up on comics, you can just pick this up.
And that's something that I like, and it's something we've not gotten much of.
Yeah.
You could do it with Tangle and Whisper, though of course Tangle and Whisper requires you to be invested in the characters, and there's actually no Sonic game characters in Tangle and Whisper.
Heck of a miniseries. I love it.
Yeah, and I do want to say I really appreciate how the miniseries have been focusing on these comics original characters and really been leveraging them, because they are a strength of the comics. The comics original characters were always a strength of the old comics back when they were published by Artsy, and they've continued to be a strength here, published by IDW, and
Yeah.
But at the same time, it's also just nice to have a very standalone story that you can just recommend to anyone who likes Sonic. Or, if it's good enough, anyone who likes comics.
There you go. But I think that wraps it up for us today.
Yeah, I do want to mention,
Yeah.
number one, of course, in the back here we have the different alternate covers.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's one by Minho Kim, which has Sonic just sort of holding his head on a pile of scrap. With
I think it's the most visually striking.
I think this
Cover.
might be what Scrapnik Island is supposed to look like, where it just kind of looks brown in the comic. I think this might be the Intensen, which if it looked more like this, I would maybe have been a little more impressed.
Yeah.
Um, and then we have one by Diana Skelly, with Sonic approaching the sunflower, as in the
Yes.
interior story. Um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, Diana Skelly definitely with a sort of more simple cartoonist style to the lines. So not a whole lot to say about it.
Minho
But
Kim.
Minho Kim,
I look
uh,
at this,
yeah,
and this looks like it could have been published by DC. Honestly,
it's really good. I don't think I'm specifically familiar with Minho Kim's work.
but this is
I
making me
don't
want to.
I don't think we've seen this name on a Sonic cover before, have we? At the very
Uh,
least, it's not one of the regular artists for covers that I
yeah,
tend to see.
I usually see this
Um,
one. Yeah,
so yeah, definitely. I think worth looking into this artist. But
for sure.
also, there is next to the shorter than average Letters Squad page,
There's a
a
creator
creator
corner.
corner.
Yeah.
Um, I like to point out these sort of creator focused things when they appear, and creator corners, they've done them a few times over the past, usually when there is someone either new on the comic, or when Evan Stanley joined in a writing role, she was interviewed in this way, and here Daniel Barnes is in the same way. Um, and it's a neat little interview. It has a picture of him doing the Sonic Adventure pose,
It's very
which I'm
good.
sure took a lot of tries
He looks
before he
great
got it.
doing it.
Oh yeah, looks great, but that looks very difficult.
Certainly, I was just thinking about how what are you on a trampoline? Do you just take multiple pictures? Like, did it look good there? No. All right, we'll try it again.
Yeah, I assume it was just like, all right, gonna jump and do it. Do you get it? No. All right, gonna jump and do it. Do you get it? Kinda. Maybe try another one. And then it probably took a few tries like that because, um, but yeah, it's always good when a creator's voice gets highlighted and even just photographed. Like,
Yeah,
there he is. That's the man who wrote this comic.
really badass man.
Hmm.
But yeah, I'm feeling good.
Yeah. Now that we've read like a full issue from Daniel Barnes, I am definitely looking forward to reading more of this miniseries, and you know, um, I feel good about this. I feel like this miniseries will probably go well, and so I will probably be looking forward to any future work that Daniel Barnes does.
Yeah. Well, it's been a pretty cool comic. But I think that's it for this book club stream.
Yeah.
Thank y'all for tuning in. We try to stream on Tuesdays and Thursdays. Tuesdays like a couple days ago, and Thursdays like today. We didn't get to stream earlier, but that's okay because we say so. And yeah, if you haven't already, please feel free to follow. If you're watching from the YouTube VOD channel, which is linked to on our Twitch profile, you can subscribe if you haven't already. Leave a like or comment. Cluster reads the comments.
Hmm.
And there's a link to our Twitch, so you can go ahead and check us out and try and catch us live if you want.
Yeah.
But yeah. Until next time, I'm Felicia Rondo, and it's close over there.
Hey.
Bye.
Bye bye.